Hey everyone, welcome to my channel, Mukesh's Tech Space. If you are new here, I post video tutorials on AWS, Lightsail, Azure, WordPress hosting, and other easy to set up and use web hosting tools and services. I also post video tutorials on WordPress tips and tricks, mostly for the beginning developer. So if you're interested in this type of content, please consider subscribing to my channel. I've also recently launched a website accompanying my YouTube channel called webhostingforbeginners.net. On this website, I post all of the videos that you'll see on YouTube, but I also add a bit more of detailed instructions in the post, as well as the commands that I use in the videos. I post those here as well for easy copy and paste. So go ahead and check out this website. I've already set up all the videos that we've done in the past 6-7 months. They're all on here. If you see anything missing, go ahead and let me know, or just give me any general feedback on the website. In today's video, we'll walk through the setup of Lightsail instances using the AWS command line interface. This is a tool that will allow us to access many of the Lightsail APIs. We'll use a few of them in today's videos to create brand new instances from blueprints, and we'll also use commands or the API to create instances from existing snapshots. Now, if you create frequent instances for various projects or for your clients, you can put these commands in a batch script and then run them without ever logging into the AWS Lightsail dashboard. This can be useful for many other use cases. For example, if you are providing web hosting services and you have an online sign-up process, you can connect these APIs to your online sign-up process. And once a user registers or signs up for your service, you can automatically spin up instances from an existing templated snapshot. So without further ado, let's take a look at how do we set this up on our computer. Okay, so typically if you followed many of my video tutorials where we create new instances to walk through various activities, you'll know that we usually come to the AWS Lightsail dashboard and then we'll create instances. We will attach static IPs to those instances and work on various things within the AWS Lightsail dashboard. But in this video, we'll do many of the same activities, but we'll use the AWS CLI, the command line interface. So let's look at some of the documentation before we actually get started with the tutorial. The first document here is this page here, creating a larger AWS Lightsail instance or block storage or a database from a snapshot using the CLI. This is the tutorial that I used, and then we'll walk through some of the steps in here, but we'll add our own steps to kind of complete the picture of how you would use this. The second page that I want to show you is the API. So let's go here. These are, let me just move the camera here. These are the AWS Lightsail APIs that are available to us through the command line interface or through various SDKs for programming languages. So if we click on any one of these, and if you scroll down to the bottom, you'll see that they have SDKs for many of the popular languages: .NET, C++, Java, JavaScript, Go, PHP, Python, Ruby. So you could use any of these to connect to the AWS Lightsail APIs. Let's look at a couple of the APIs. One was the create instances. This is one of the APIs that we'll use in the tutorial today. This will allow us to create instances. The second one is creating instances from a snapshot. So the difference between both of these are obviously the create instances. You can create brand new instances from the blueprints that are available in Lightsail. And then this command here will allow us to create an instance from a snapshot that we've created within the Lightsail dashboard. What we will also use in this tutorial is the allocate static IP address. So once we have our instance created, we'll set up a static IP address, and then we will use the final command, which is attach a static IP address. And we'll attach this to the instance that we created using the CLI. So these are the documentations that we'll walk through in the video. I will put these links in the post so that you have access to them, and of course, any of the commands that will run in the video tutorial. Okay, so to get started, what we'll need is the AWS CLI. So go ahead and search for AWS CLI in Google, or I will link these in the post. But find the installation page for AWS CLI. Make sure that you are picking AWS CLI version 2 to install. If you have already version 1 on your computer, you're going to need to uninstall that and install version 2. So AWS CLI version 2, click on install, pick your operating system, and then click on install the, so scroll down here and click on this link right here that will start the download process for version 2 on your computer. And once it's done downloading, go ahead and double click on the MSI file and run through the installation process. I already have it installed on my screen or on my computer, so I won't run through it, but follow the process and get it completed. Now, once you have AWS CLI installed, let's verify that it was installed successfully. You can open up a PowerShell window or a command prompt or a terminal window if you're on Linux or Mac, and then just type in AWS --version, and you'll see that the version 2.0 is installed. Next, what we have to do is configure the command line interface with our account. So come back to your AWS Lightsail dashboard, click on the AWS link at the top in the header, and then you'll come to the AWS Management Console. Click on your username up here. Mine says Lightsail Videos, but yours could be your first name and your last name. And then click on My Security Credentials. This will take you into Identity and Access Management IAM console. Then you'll want to click on Access Keys. And then you should, if you are a brand new account, you should see this view. However, if you've created security keys and access keys for other purposes, you might have those listed out here. We'll go ahead and create new access key. And then it says your access key has been created successfully, and then you'll want to download the key file. You could show it here, but go ahead and download that so that we could reference it later. And then hit close. Then once you hit close, you'll see now that our new access key has been created, and then the secret key will not show here, but it's downloaded in our file. You could come back here and make this inactive or delete it if you no longer need these access keys. Okay, so next let's configure our AWS CLI. So open up a Windows terminal or a Mac or Linux terminal, and we'll type in AWS configure, and it will prompt us for the AWS access key ID. So let's open up the CSV file that we downloaded. Okay, so let's copy the access key ID, paste it. Next, it will prompt us for the AWS secret key, secret access key. So let's copy that from the CSV file, and we'll paste it in here. And then it will ask us for a default region name, and you can leave it blank to pick the default of US East 1, or you can specify your region where you create most of your instances. So I will do US East 1, and you can find region names on the AWS Lightsail dashboard. There is an API command that you can run to get all the various region names, but you could also find it right here. US East 1 is our region. And you can click on change and you can see the rest of the regions that are available. So let's go back to our configure process, and we'll say US-East-1. and then the output format. So once the command runs, the response that we get from AWS, what format that output should be in, and we'll leave the default of JSON. And that's it. We should be configured and connected to our AWS account using the AWS CLI. So to create instances, we'll need at least two pieces of information. We'll need a blueprint ID. We will also need a bundle ID. So if we go back to our dashboard, you'll see that we'll need to find a blueprint so that we can select what blueprint that we want our instance to be based off of. And then we also need the instance plan name or bundles. And we'll need to pick which bundle or instance plan we want to use to create our base instance. So we'll need those two items. We need the IDs for those. So the two commands we can run to get that is, the first one is AWS Lightsail get dash, we'll do blueprints first. Blueprints. And the output will be JSON. And you can see these are the OS blueprints. So you'll see a blueprint ID of Windows Server 2019, Windows Server 2016, 2012, and then if I hit more or hit the space bar, it will list out all the blueprints that are available. So one of the blueprints is WordPress. So we'll find that in here. So FreeBSD, OpenSUSE, CentOS, WordPress. So here's our blueprint ID, WordPress. So we'll make a note of that. And then we'll hit Control-C to get out of that command. The next command is to get the bundle. So AWS Lightsail get bundles. And if you run that, the output is JSON, and we'll see the various bundles that are available. Again, these are, you could also call them instance plans, but this is the $3.50 lowest instance plan, then the $5, $10, and it keeps going from there. You'll notice here, the output also provides a bundle ID. So that's what we want to capture or make note of. So I'll just put it on the side, nano _2_0. And that's the bundle ID that our instance will be created with. So let's go ahead and exit out of that command. Now we're ready to set up our create instances command to start up a new instance for us. So again, we'll type in AWS Lightsail create instances. The first parameter we need to provide is the name of the instance. So instance names, and we'll give it an instance name of WordPress from CLI. And then we'll need to provide the availability zone. So this parameter, we need to specify which zone within our region we want the instance to come up. So this would be US East 1 and then zone A. And you can again find your zones coming back here to the dashboard. You'll see that we have zone A, but you can change your availability zone, which is zone A, zone B, C, D, E, and F. So these are for US East 1, but you pick your region and then you'll see the zone. So we'll need that US-East-1A. So let's go back to our command, 1A. And then I think we need the blueprint ID. So blueprint-ID. And then this is WordPress. And then we'll need the bundle ID. Bundle ID. And then that will be nano _2_0 that we noted earlier. And if we typed in everything correct, it should start spawning up an instance for us. So the output that comes back is the ID of our instance, the resource name, the type is a Lightsail instance, and then when the instance was created, and then various information around the location, and other items here. So this If you wanted to, you can parse the JSON and store this information in a database or anything else. But for us, we just need to look at the status and it has started. So if we come back to our Lightsail dashboard, click on home, you'll see that we have our instance running. So we have our instance, it's up and running. You can click on the SSH terminal and log into it and do anything you want. It usually takes a couple of minutes for this to come up, but just wanted to show you that. So the next thing we do whenever we create an instance is we attach a static IP address. So when we're creating instances through the dashboard, you can come here and create a static IP and attach it to that instance. We'll walk through the same process, but using the CLI. So let's go back to our terminal and let's create a static IP address. So we'll type in AWS Lightsail and then allocate static IP. So this is one of the commands that we looked at earlier. And then we'll need to provide it a static IP name. And then usually this could be just our static IP from CLI. Now, before I run that command, the output that we received earlier, let me copy that information. And I'll store it just in case I need that later on. I will store it in a text editor. So go ahead and we'll run the command now. AWS Lightsail, allocate static IP, pass it a parameter of the static IP name, and hit enter. And the output of this will be status of succeeded. That's all we need. Again, I'll just keep this in case I need it for future. Okay, so now we have a static IP provisioned. It's not attached to our instance yet. So we'll run the next command, AWS Lightsail, and this will be attach static IP. We'll provide it the static IP name, and this was what we named it, static IP from CLI-1. So static IP from CLI-1, and now we need to attach it to an instance name. So we'll provide a parameter of instance name and then the name of our instance. Let's see, it was WordPress from CLI. So we'll provide that, hit enter. And now the output should be our instance name or our static IP name and our instance name, and the status of the command was succeeded. So the attachment was succeeded. Let's go ahead and check it out on our dashboard. And here we go. So static IP, and it's attached to WordPress from CLI instance. And we have a static IP now. So with these commands now, you've spun up a brand new instance, you've created a static IP, we've attached the static IP to the WordPress instance. If you bundle these commands in a PowerShell script or a shell script, you don't need to log into the dashboard. You can just start up new instances whenever you need it. You can even automate it, as we talked about earlier, automating it by attaching it to some other processes that you already have. So what we're going to do next is we're going to create an instance from a snapshot. So why is this important? In my previous video, I showed you how to create a custom snapshot. So basically we have our instance name or our WordPress instance. We can customize it by attaching our own plugins, our own themes, whatever you like to be part of your default WordPress instance. You can set all that up and create a snapshot from the Lightsail dashboard. So now your snapshot has your own version of a WordPress fresh install. What you could do with the command lines then is once you have that snapshot stored, you can write the commands to create an instance from that snapshot. So that's what we'll take a look at next. So let's assume that we already have a customized version of WordPress. I would have gone into this IP address, go into the WP admin, and added the plugins that I typically use for a WordPress site, added the themes, configured it, customized it as a base fresh install. Let's assume we already did that. I kind of showed you how to do that in our previous video, so you can take a look at that. But let's assume that, and what we'll do here in the dashboard is we'll create a snapshot. So let's click on Snapshots, and then we'll hit Create Snapshot, and we'll leave the name as is. Or we could just, based on our use case, we'll say this is our custom base install. And then we'll hit Create. And that'll take a few minutes, so let that create. I'll pause the video and then come back once it's ready to go. Okay, so our instance is ready to go, or our snapshot is ready to go, I should say. So let's open up our PowerShell window or your terminal, and let's type in AWS Lightsail, and then get instance snapshots. Now, before I do that, we're going back to the API reference page where all the various actions are available as a Lightsail API. You can go through each of these, and then we'll use the one about get instance snapshots right here. You'll notice that we'll receive the various instance snapshots that are available in our Lightsail environment. So that's the one we'll use. And the other thing I wanted to show you is I could have used the command create snapshot. Create instance snapshot. So I could have, instead of going through the Lightsail dashboard to create the instance snapshot, I could have used this command, create instance snapshot, passed in the appropriate parameters right here, and created the same snapshot through the command line. So now let's go back here to our command prompt and then type in AWS Lightsail, get instance snapshots, and hit enter. And this will list out the one snapshot that we have right here. Let's, what do I need from here? I think I need I believe I just need the name. Take a note of that. So the command that we'll use to create an instance from a snapshot is create, AWS Lightsail. This will be, let's see, create instance from snapshot, and we'll give it the instance names. So this will be the name of the new instance that we want to create. So this will be WordPress instance from snapshot. And then we'll provide the availability zone of US-East-1A. And then the instance snapshot name, that's the other parameter. And that will be the name that I copied earlier. And finally, the bundle ID. And so the bundle ID, the one we copied earlier, was for the lowest bundle or instance plan, which was the nano_2_0. If you want to create your new instance with that bundle ID, you can type in nano_2_0, or if you want to create the same instance but with a higher instance plan, then just go back and run that get bundles command and find the other bundles that you want, anything higher like a larger size instance, and put that ID in here. But for our tutorial, we'll just use the same bundle ID. And I think that is it. Okay, that did not work. Let's see what we need. Create. What did we type wrong? Maybe you meant create instances. Okay, so let's go back to our command and just type the additional S. Okay, so there we go. And that process has started. I'll just keep a copy of this in case I need it. And if we go back to our Lightsail dashboard and go back to the home, there we go. The second instance from our snapshot is being spun up and provisioned. Now, what we could do here is attach the IP address to this new instance via the command line. And I showed you those commands. We ran through that command earlier, but if we go back to the AWS API reference, you'll see that we can attach the IP address. So you just give it an instance name and the static IP name, and it will attach the existing IP to the new instance that we just created. So hopefully you found this useful, and this way we can run a lot of the commands to maintain our AWS Lightsail environment through the command line. And as I mentioned earlier, you could use AWS CLI, of course, but you can tie this into any other applications that you have with the various SDKs that they provide for the common programming languages. If you have any questions, leave the questions down in the comments below. I'll try to answer them as best as I can. If you found this useful, give it a thumbs up, like it, share it with others, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. So until the next video, take care.